Greetings, this is Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, reading from the prophet Ezekiel chapter 22 and 23. Thus says Yahweh Allah, a city in the midst of which one has shed innocent blood. The time has come for her to be crushed, together with those who worship idols within her, thereby defiling her. I want to pause there so that you listening to this recording will know whether the city that you're living in is the subject of this prophecy. Innocent blood. What does innocent mean? It means a person who has died that did nothing to break the Torah to merit that death. So the most immediate example that comes to my mind, and I'm sure the Most High is thinking about this also, among other things, is all those babies killed under the act of abortion. Every state in the USA and pretty much the whole of the UK and Europe and other countries have made it legal, has given the woman the right to terminate that pregnancy for any reason. I know that the UK passed the abortion laws in 1967, and I believe the USA also passed the 50-year mark of this killing of innocent blood act. So this warning now is addressed to the cities that have this terrible legacy. You have become guilty by the sin of innocent blood, which you have shed. And you have become defiled by your worship of your idols. So we're not just talking about cities, we're talking about those who inhabit, citizens. So it's addressing you also. Now the day is near for you to be crushed, and the time has come for evil to befall you. Therefore, I have made you a reproach to the nations and a mockery to all countries. Can you think of two countries today who all the nations are mocking? I can think of two. Do they not mock Donald Trump? Do they not mock Boris Johnson? Those who are near and those who are far off from you shall mock you, who are ill-famed, whose noisy crowds are many. Behold, the princes of Israel in you. Each has used his power in order to shed innocent blood. Father and mother they have dishonored within you. The proselyte they have treated with oppression in your midst. Orphans and widows they have wronged in you. Towards my sacred things you have acted contemptuously. You have profaned my Shabbats. Jubilees chapter 6 says there are 364 days in the year. If you observe a year with more or less days than this, you shall throw out the new moons, the Shabbats, the feasts, and make an abomination of them. You have profaned my Sabbaths. There within you men who informed on others in order to shed innocent blood, and on the mountains they worshipped idols within you. A conspiracy of transgression have they made in your midst. The father's nakedness they have uncovered in you. A woman during her period they have violated in you. A man commits abomination with his neighbor's wife, and another man defiles his daughter-in-law. in the conspiracy of transgression. And in you still another man violates his sister, his father's daughter. Within you they have taken bribes in order to shed innocent blood. You have taken usury and interest and made profit for your friend by oppression. But the worship of me you have abandoned, says Yahweh Allah. Behold, I am bringing my punishment upon you for the sins of monetary oppression. Interest rates, inflation, and all sorts of things. Monetary oppression, which you have committed, and for the innocent blood which has been shed in your midst. Can your heart remain strong, and can your hands remain firm for the days in the future that I will deal with you? I, Yahweh, have decreed it by my memory, and I will fulfill it. I will exile you among the nations and disperse you in the countries, and I will remove your filthiness from you. Then I shall be sanctified through you before the eyes of the nations, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. The word of prophecy from before Yahweh was with me, saying, Son of Adam, the house of Israel has become dross before me. All of them are like copper, tin, iron, and lead mixed in a crucible. They have become silver dross. Therefore, thus says Yahweh Allah, because you have all become dross, behold, I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem, like the gathering together of silver, copper, iron, lead, and tin, into the midst of a crucible, for the fire to overpower it in order to melt it. So will I gather you in my anger and in my wrath, and I shall finish you and destroy you. And I will gather you and overpower you with the fire of my punishment, and you will melt away in the midst of it, as silver is melted inside a crucible. So you shall be melted in the midst of it, and you shall know that I, Yahweh, have poured out my wrath upon you. The word of prophecy from before Yahweh was with me, saying, Son of Adam, say to her, you are the land of Israel, a land that is not cleansed, and no good deeds are being performed in her to protect her in the day of curse. Her fellow traveling teachers in the midst of her are like lions roaring for the kill. They have slain human beings. They have appropriated wealth and precious things. They have increased her widows in her midst. Her priests misinterpret the Torah and desecrate it. They desecrate my holy things. They have made no distinction between the sacred and the non-sacred. And they have not made known the difference between the unclean and the clean. And they have closed their eyes to my Shabbats, so that my will is profaned among them. Her princes in the midst of her are like wolves snatching what they have robbed, shedding innocent blood, destroying lives in order to acquire dishonest wealth. And the false prophets who are in the midst of her are like one who builds a wall and daubs it with plain mud without straw. You know, when you make a wall and you daub it with mud without straw, you know, when the rain comes, it washes all that mud away, so there's nothing there. They prophesy falsehood and teach them lies. They say, "Thus says Yahweh Allah," whereas nothing had been spoken to them from before Yahweh. The people of the land have practiced oppression and committed robbery. They have wronged the poor and needy, and they have oppressed the proselyte which is not proper. So I sought among them before me a man possessed of good deeds, who would stand in the breach before me and pray for mercy for the people of the land, not to suffer destruction, but I found none. So I have poured out my fury upon them. With my punishing fire I destroyed them. I have brought down upon their heads the punishment for their ways, says Yahweh. I'm going to just emphasize something here, just in case you misinterpret what the Most High says here. Yahweh says that he sought among the men of Jerusalem a man possessed of good deeds, who would stand in the breach before him to pray on your behalf, those dwelling in Jerusalem, to ask him to not bring upon you the punishment that's due. It's not saying that there aren't righteous men here with good deeds. There are just none with good deeds prepared to stand and pray on your behalf, because we're sick and tired of seeing this. That's why we're not praying on your behalf. This is what it actually means. So, I have poured out my fury upon them. With my punishing fire I destroyed them. I have brought down upon their heads the punishment for their ways, says Yahweh Allah. Son of Adam, prophesy against two countries who are like two women who were the daughters of one mother. In Egypt, they went astray after the worship of their idols. There they worshipped idols, and their deeds became corrupt there. Their names were Aholah, the elder one, and Aholibah, her sister. When they served before me, they prospered with sons and daughters. As for their names, Aholah is Samaria, and Aholibah is Jerusalem. Now, Aholah strayed from my worship, and it pleased her to stray after her friends the Assyrians, her neighbors. Clothed to perfection, governors and officers, desirable young men, all of them horsemen riding horses. It pleased her to stray after them, all of them young men riding horses, all of them young Assyrians, and with all those whom she chose, she defiled herself with all of their idol worship. She did not give up the idol worship which remained with her from Egypt. Oh, let me see. The New Testament Book of the Dead, isn't that from Egypt? Of course it is. The Most High never gave that in the Torah or the prophets. For they had made her worship idols, and they had taught her evil practices, and had poured out their idolatry upon her. Therefore I delivered her into the hands of her friends, into the hand of the Assyrians, after whom she had chosen to go astray. They uncovered her shame, her sons and daughters they took captive, and her people they slew with the sword. She became a byword for the countries, and they executed her just punishment upon her. Her sister Aholibah saw this, yet she corrupted her love more than her sister, and her idols exceeded the idols of her sister. It pleased her to stray after the Assyrians. neighbouring governors and officers in full battle garb, horsemen riding horses, desirable young men, all of them. And it was revealed before me that she had become defiled. It was one way alike for both of them. But she added to her idolatry. When she saw men portrayed on the wall, figures of the Chaldeans portrayed in colours, girded with belts around their waists, helmets on their heads, all of them had the appearance of valiant men, the likeness of Babylonians from the country of the Chaldeans, the land of their birth, and it pleased her to stray after them. After what she saw with her eyes, so she sent messengers to them, to the country of the land of the Chaldeans. Now the Babylonians came to make love, and they defiled her with their idolatry. And she defiled herself with them until she became disgusted with them. But her disgraceful conduct had been exposed, and her shame was seen. So my memory loathed her as my memory loathed her sister. Yet she increased her idolatry, remembering the former days in which she had strayed with them when she was in the land of Egypt. And it pleased her to be a servant for them, whose flesh was the flesh of asses, and whose offensive smell was like that of horses. And you recall the sins of your previous conspiracy of transgression. You made love on account of the sins of your childhood, ever since Egypt. Therefore, O Aholiba, says Yahweh Allah, behold, I will swiftly bring against you your friends, with whom you became disgusted, and I will bring them against you from all around, the Babylonians and all the Chaldeans, those of Pekod and of Shoa and of Koa, and all the Assyrians with them, desirable young men, governors and officers, all of them valiant men and ready, all of them riding on horseback. And they shall come against you with armour, with chariots and wheels, and with an encampment of peoples who will be armed with shields and helmets. They shall array themselves against you on all sides, and I will place before them the matter of just punishment, and they shall call you to account according to their laws. And I will execute my punishment on you, and they shall exact payment from you with fury. Your princes and your nobles shall be exiled, and your people shall be slain with the sword. They shall take your sons and daughters captive, and the choicest of your land shall be burned with fire. They shall strip you of your expensive clothes and remove your beautiful garments, and I will put a stop to the sins of your conspiracy. Let me say that again. I will put a stop to the sins of your conspiracy. That's more effective, isn't it? Of transgression and your worship of idols. Idols just means anything that you use as an excuse not to